Joined by Rogers Redding, the National Rules Editor. Rogers, if you would, tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the rules changes in 2010.
Thanks, Doug. Well, as you know, the NCAA is in a 2-year rules process, so this is sort of the off year. There weren't to be any rule changes this year, but because of player safety issues, we're allowed to make a rule change or two. And so the one that is the biggest change as far as how the game is played has to do with what's referred to as the wedge blocking on kickoffs. And what the rule says is that 3 players join shoulder to shoulder in a straight line. The 3-man wedge, if they form that wedge for the purpose of blocking for the receiver on a kickoff, that is a foul for the formation. Whether there's a block thrown or not has nothing to do with it. It's a foul for the formation. 2-man wedge is okay. 3-man wedge is disallowed. And if it's clear that it's obviously the intent is to block for the receiver. And we don't want to over-officiate this. I mean, we want to make sure that we see the wedge formed and that it is for the purpose of blocking. If 3 players just happen to wind up on the same yard line at the same time quickly, that's not a foul. The penalty is 15 yards. It's going to be an expensive foul. 15 yards either from the spot of the foul or from where the dead ball would belong to the receiving team, whichever one is most expensive. And so that's really the change in the rule for this year. The reason for the change is because of the fact that the emphasis on player safety and the concern about concussions. There's a lot of concern nationally in the NFL and NCAA football around concussions. And the data show that concussions occur disproportionately large on kickoffs. And so the idea is to cut down on this wedge formation because the players that get hurt are the players on the kicking team who are coming down trying to bust up the wedge.
2 questions come to mind, Rogers. One, is there any definition of how far apart these players can be? And secondly, understand there may be an exception if it's an obvious onside kick?
That's right. If the players, if they are no more than 2 yards shoulder to shoulder, that is, one player 2 yards from him, another player, and 2 yards from him is a third player, that is, if they get further apart than that, that's not a foul. And also, if there's an obvious onside kick where the kicking team is kicking the ball onside to try to get a recovered football after the ball goes 10 yards, then it's not a foul if they form it on that. So those are the 2 sort of technical components of the rule. A V formation is fine. A V is okay. It's a straight line, 3 players lined up in a straight line, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder, no more than 2 yards between any 2 players. One of the